Hello everybody and welcome to the Daily Review, episode number 191 for Tuesday, August 11th, 2009. And the film I'm going to be reviewing for you guys today is Slacker. This film is written and directed by Richard Linklater, and it stars a whole cast of characters, pretty much unknowns. Richard Linklater is in the first segment of this film. Everybody else is kind of, I think they're kind of like people he just kind of picked out of the street, or friends that he knew. They're not really actors, they're just, you know, I mean, I guess they're actors because they're in the movie, but they're nobody that you would have ever heard of. Slacker is basically about an hour and 40-minute film about a bunch of 20-something people, mostly 20-somethings, that live in Austin, Texas. And the film is told through a series of vignettes where the basic premise is that the camera follows one character for a while until he bumps into another character, and then the camera follows that character until they bump into another character, and so on and so forth, and then the movie keeps going along that pattern. Slacker is an interesting concept. I think that concept itself of following someone until they hit somebody else and kind of showing how all these related events that take place in one day are all stemming from one person to another to another to another. That's an interesting concept to me. Unfortunately, for me, Slacker is really boring, and I hate to say that about movies because I think there are so many better words to use than boring, so I'll attempt to use some better words than boring to describe this in my review. I think the problem with Slacker is that most of the characters in this film, for me at least, are very uninteresting people. A lot of the dialogue and conversations made me feel the way I feel when I go to parties, and there's that one person or the few people there that try to talk to you about something existentialist or something deep or just something about themselves, and you just want to leave. You're just like, don't talk to me anymore. You sound unintelligent. There's a lot of, I guess, mumblecore-esque things to this film because a lot of the characters continue saying like, which is fine, but the dialogue is very uninteresting. I do want to say some good stuff about the film that I think saves it from being a totally terrible film. Is the first two vignettes, I think, are probably the most interesting, which is sad because for me the movie starts off on this nice little note and it just goes down from there. The first one involves Richard Linklater. I believe his character is called Should Have Stayed at the Bus Stop. And he gets in a taxi cab and he talks to the cab driver about a dream he had on the bus where basically all the thoughts and decisions you make in life, and he describes the Wizard of Oz and how they choose which road to go down. All the things that you didn't choose are separate realities, and that those realities are existing still for you, you just don't realize it. And how when you have dreams about a woman or a person that you don't recognize, that's just a glimpse into your other reality. That's really cool and clever to me, and I think the way that it's presented, I believe the last thing he talks about is how instead of getting in the cab, he could have just stayed at the bus, and a beautiful woman could have walked up, and they could have met and talked and gone on dates. He could have kissed her, they could have had kids and lived in a house. And I think the last line in his segment is he says, "Shit, I should have stayed at the bus stop." That's funny, and that's very well executed, I think. The other segment that I think is really well done is right after it, where it's basically a one-shot of this woman that gets hit by a car, and the camera keeps going further and further out until you see the same car that hit her pull around to his house. And it goes into his story. That segment is really well done, and it's really subtle, but it gives cool insight. All of the other vignettes, however, are very boring to me, and I feel like it's people that think they're talking about something super interesting when it's not really that interesting. There's one segment that goes on about a guy saying that we've already landed on the moon and we're on Mars now. There's one guy that's like a JFK assassination enthusiast, and he's talking to this girl about all these books that he's read. Somebody talks about the metaphorical and symbolic meaning behind Scooby-Doo and the Smurfs, which is fine, but it's just not that interesting. I like Richard Linklater too a lot. I've liked a lot of his films. Dazed and Confused, A Scanner Darkly I reviewed for you guys, which I kind of liked. School of Rock I think is actually hilarious, even though it's probably a lesser known. You don't really think of Richard Linklater for that film. But I would say skip Slacker if you haven't seen it. I give it a 1 out of 5. I think the premise is interesting, it's just very poorly executed. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with another one for you.